Hey, welcome to the start of the week. It's Monday afternoon. Guerilla Sports Off Ice. I'm Jesse Montano, going to be joined by Meghan Angley here in just a moment to talk about an incredibly successful weekend for the Colorado Avalanche and the changing of the guard potentially taking place right before our eyes in the NHL as young players, young teams are suddenly finding themselves near the top of the standings, the points race, all of it. But Nathan MacKinnon might have something to say about that himself. As always, we want to start by reminding you guys about our great friends over at RefiJet. Did you know that you could refinance your auto loan? Well, with RefiJet, you can save around $150 every single month, all just a soft credit pull and zero hassle. Lower payments, flexible terms, maybe even some cash back in your pocket from your car's equity. Start today at refijet.com/sports. I say it all the time, guys. The best way to support us and this show and what we are doing here at Guerilla is to show our partners some love. So head on over refijet.com/sports. See how much money they can help you start saving. Costs you nothing to take a look. The faster, easier way to refinance. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley, here on this Monday. I almost said morning, afternoon. Avs coming off a big weekend. The Colorado Eagles picked up a couple wins this weekend as well. Big weekend in Colorado hockey and a lot to get into, really. Nathan MacKinnon named the first star of the week in the NHL. Meghan, how you doing? How you doing on this Monday?
It's good between the finish of last night's game, going to OT, being here. It doesn't feel like a lot of time has passed. And even still, Nathan MacKinnon being named first star felt like a piece of news, but was there any competition for this week? So I'm excited about it still, but
Yeah. We might have a slight echo here. I got a text that said we might have an echo going, just so everyone knows. Might have to do with that other thing that we got up here. But anyways, lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
Mac.
Big weekend for the Avs. Big weekend for Nathan MacKinnon. You and I had kind of a funny moment last night on the pod. The depth for the Avs really shined this weekend. Gavin Brindley scores the OT winner. Jack Drury has 2 goals against Edmonton. Parker Kelly, 2 goals against Edmonton. A lot of really good things. Brent Byrne gets in on the action. Arturi Lehkonen, I know he's not necessarily depth, but Arturi Lehkonen, 2 goals last night. Kind of made it easy to overlook the fact that Nathan MacKinnon put up 9 points in 2 days, Meghan. A dominating performance from him. Before we get into this weekend specifically, we talk to Jared Bednar often about Nathan MacKinnon, and he always gets to a certain point in the season where it's just like, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say about him. I don't know how else I can pontificate about him, whatever. At this point, do you have any new words or any new ways to describe Nathan MacKinnon that we haven't talked about before? He just continues to hum along at a rate that I don't know if we've ever seen in Colorado.
Well, I think there isn't a singular word that comes to mind, but he raises his own bar. And that's not a new quality to him, but I don't know if many people thought past that 130-point season that it gets better than this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just unclear what the ceiling is for Nathan MacKinnon. It's a fun question to have around this player who's certainly on a Hall of Fame track. It's just a question of how high this is going to take him. And he's a special player, though. That part isn't new. There aren't new words around how to describe what makes him special. But I think from Jared Bednar's perspective, too, we're a lot of the same media corps that have come up covering Nathan MacKinnon too. And
Yep.
so it's not even just inside a single season that it's hard to come up with new ways to talk about Nate. He's been talking about Nate this way for so many years, and he just continues to set that bar higher.
Yeah, and that's the part to me is like every time Nathan MacKinnon does something, goes through a certain stretch, whatever, you go, wow, how does he top that? Wow, how does he top that? And he just continue. And now the part to me that has become so consistently impressive is the consistency. He just goes and goes and goes. And maybe he'll have nights where he doesn't pick up a point or whatever, but Nathan MacKinnon is one of those. He's an impact player 82 nights a year. You have to know where he is at all times. He will beat you. And I think that's the part that maybe, like I said, we were kind of laughing yesterday, was like, just 2 good games from the Abs, especially, that Vancouver one, especially given the circumstances. Like, you'll take that game. And yeah, it's easy to look at what's going on. And, oh man, look at all the depth contributions and all that. But like, what's at the core of all of it? It's Nathan MacKinnon pushing everything forward. And I thought you made a great call out last night about not only what Nathan MacKinnon does, but the impact that Nathan MacKinnon has on other players, maybe in a different way than being a yelling and screaming type of leader, but I'm going to go about my business this way, and I'm arguably the best player in the world. There's no reason everyone else shouldn't also be doing this.
I'd like to correct myself. 140-point season.
I wasn't going to be the one to do it, but yes.
And currently on pace for 148. So it's hard to believe that the clip he's producing at would somehow top the 140-point season. And what made me think of it is the second Abbotsford game for the Eagles. They came out kind of flat, and it was a depleted Abbotsford team with so much of their team battling injury and recalled to Vancouver, as we saw last night, that it was kind of tough to see how are they going to revitalize this group against Abbotsford. And it was Tristan Nielsen in that game. And I think what made me think of it is Tristan Nielsen was talking about how he doesn't even consider himself to be in the best shape, but he does still, consciously put that effort then into recovery, conditioning, to try and be better. And I was thinking about how that was something that didn't really need to be taught to MacKinnon, that instinct to do it, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
It was something he self-motivated. He wanted to have that as a part of his game away from the rink. And I think in looking at the culture built around the Avs, because it mattered so much to Nate, it's mattered to a lot of his teammates as well. They use him as a resource. And I look at something like Brindley having his legs under him in the OT period last night. Now, some of that I think is kind of simply second game in a back-to-back, not so different from the situation the Eagles were in that I'm drawing a parallel to here. You put the young guy out, right? Gavin Brindley should have a little more gas in his tank. He's a young gun. And I have to imagine, though, too, that getting to this level and being around this team with players like Nathan MacKinnon has had a huge impact on how Gavin Brindley takes care of himself as well. And has set a new standard, too, for what that looks like at this level. And there's no better person to learn from than Nathan MacKinnon. And so it's unsurprising to me that those are the players on the ice when that OT goal gets scored, that Nate's right there. He does lead by example in so many ways, sometimes not very subtle, but it's something that you have to think about sometimes.
Well, and I saw a comment in the chat that said Nathan MacKinnon is like Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg rolled into one. I really do. I've said for years, and again, take this with a grain of salt. When you're talking about all-time greats, you always have to. But I actually have said for a while that I've thought that Nathan MacKinnon is this weird hybrid between Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin, his whole career, and it's part of what makes what Ovechkin has done so impressive. Alex Ovechkin always played with a physical edge. Always, one of the league leaders in hits. Was just, a nightmare to have to try to stand in front of. Plus, he had that offensive touch. Nathan MacKinnon's got a level of that in his game where he's a big dude, he's strong, and he's such a fierce competitor. And I think players don't fully realize how big and strong he is sometimes. And you see guys maybe get themselves a little bit embarrassed at times trying to, run him over or something like that. But then he's also got that playmaking, that finesse, that touch that a player like Sidney Crosby has. I really do. I think Nathan MacKinnon is unique in the NHL. I don't think there's anybody quite like him in the same way that Connor McDavid, the speed and the pace that he plays at and things like that is one of one. I think Nathan is one of one. I don't think there's many guys that you can look to and say, oh yeah, he's a guy that kind of plays like Nathan MacKinnon. No, he's in a class and a category kind of his own, in my opinion.
Sometimes I think the fact that he has those other aspects of his game, like being a powerful force on the ice, a little bit of physicality, I think he applies it as needed too. It's situational physicality. And so in an 82 game season, I don't know that you see it as much from Nate as what you see in the playoffs. I think that part of his game really comes alive when the spotlight gets brighter. And I think people sometimes take away from what makes Nathan MacKinnon special, maybe because it's not to the level of playmaking vision that Connor McDavid is, but it's not far off, first and foremost. And these other things are what separates him and makes him his own unique player, like you're saying. And I don't think it should ever be used to diminish Nathan MacKinnon. I think the fact that his toolkit is maybe a bit diverse shouldn't take away from the things that he does well and how all of those things work together to make him the complete player.
And why are we talking so much about Nathan MacKinnon right here? Well, Nathan MacKinnon was named the NHL's first star of the week. Not just the 9 points over the weekend. Played in 3 games, 4 goals, 6 helpers for 10 total points on the week. And Megan, I mean, really was. He was just dynamic in that. I want to get back to the Edmonton game here in a second, but that's why we're talking about Nathan MacKinnon. I don't remember how many times it finished last year, but he was one of the stars of the week, I believe at least 4 times last season. Nathan MacKinnon has gotten himself in his game to a point where he is just considered kind of the standard in the NHL of, yes, that is what one of the top players in our game looks like week in, week out. And I don't think that you would have much argument from players around the league that he was probably the most impressive player for the month of October.
Yeah. I don't have the October numbers, but even just like his last 5 games, 5 goals, 7 assists. It's been a really consistent pace that he's producing at. And I think it's the timeliness too. Like the Edmonton game, they got contributions from all over the lineup. They didn't need superhero Nate, but they did in Vancouver, and he had a 5-point night compared to the 4-point night previously. When they needed him most, he became even more of a hero in that game. So I think that's the quality that makes Nathan MacKinnon a player that you want on your team in the playoffs. There are players who have regular season results that are incredibly impressive, lead the league in points, assists, every year, top 5, top 10 conversation, but the playoffs are a different story. And so it's those other aspects of Nate's game that we're talking about here that I think give him that edge in the playoffs because he is such a competitor. He can flip a game on its head. And it doesn't always get the result. Like I'm even thinking back to the cup run and the Nate hat trick that was wasted. But that's just a classic Nate thing. And it's tough losing Mikko Rantanen, especially just given how much those two produce in the playoffs with each other. But I think Nathan MacKinnon can find a lot of success with just about anyone, and that says a lot about him.
No, I completely agree with that. I want to get your opinion on if this is a Nathan MacKinnon thing or not. I was listening to Elliot Friedman this morning on 32 Thoughts, him and Kyle Bukauskas. And Elliot was talking about the game on Friday. Game on Saturday. And was saying how in the last minute of that game, the Avs are up 9-1. And of the two teams that were still, the one that was still foot on the gas in the last minute of a game they were up 9-1 was the Colorado Avalanche. And Elliott was saying, he said, you could tell they wanted the 10th goal on the Edmonton Oilers. They wanted to hang 10 on the Oilers. And I have to wonder, and you know, Elliott made the kind of tongue-in-cheek joke of like, they took out 2 years of playoff frustration on Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers in one night. Do you feel the same way that I feel about that? That was a moment being led by Gabe Landeskog, Nathan MacKinnon of we came here to make a statement. We've made a statement and we aren't letting up until the final horn sounds. Do you think that same way, or were the Avs just in a groove feeling it? Or do you think that this was something that was kind of discussed of like, we aren't stopping until the very bitter end?
I think it's not even unique to the Edmonton game. It's just the result was very observable because of the contrast in the final score. But I think, especially in some of the games the Avs have let slip away from them early, they don't get that opening goal, and they do have to chase a little bit of a comeback. You see that we're going to finish games. Like, I think they're having conversations about, all right, we didn't always start games on time, but we are not going to let it be a habit of not finishing them. And so I think it's been building towards that. And the only way to consistently close out games is to always do it, even if you're up 9-1.
Yeah.
So that's what I think we're seeing in the Edmonton game. Now, I also think they're acutely aware that it's the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
I think that holds significance in their eyes too. But I imagine no matter the difference in that final score, they probably would have played to the final minute against Edmonton. Is kind of the point that I'm making here. And even if it was a bigger goal differential between the two, because I think they're actually less concerned. Okay, I think it held significance that it was the Edmonton Oilers, but I also think it didn't hold as much in that they just want to be doing this consistently against any and all teams in a non-discriminatory way as well. So I think it's back of mind. Like, there are probably naysayers who don't, especially now. I think the Avs have silenced a lot of those naysayers. But I think at the start of the year, there was question around the depth of this team. And because of the disappointing result in the Dallas series, I think the Avs have fielded a lot of that criticism nationally of like, are they really still the juggernaut they once were, right? This isn't the 2022 Cup team anymore. And so I think that this is their way of answering for that. And then when they do play against a team that's been Western Conference final now, last couple seasons, it's back of mind. Like, if we'd met a different fate in our first round opponent, that should have been us. It should have been us. We're going to show you that we're built for playoff teams, and even playoff teams struggle to hang with us in the final moments.
Yeah, no, I think that's all spot on, Megan. I really like the call out of like that. It's probably just something that they are emphasizing. Does not matter what the score is, who the opponent is. You play to the bitter end. But also what you just said there at the end of like, hey, in case there was anyone that had any doubts about the way we started this, we're going to show you. No reason to have any doubts in who we are. And I do just think to kind of put a bow on my thoughts about Nate. Like, I think Nate's the engine of that.
Yes, because his body language when those goals were scored, he had zero emotion, not even a smile.
I expected that to go in.
Yep. Kind of like, all right, next whistle. Like, let's get new bodies on the ice, keep this thing going. And I think it's interesting then. So, to drive home that point too, like, it wasn't a showboaty gloating thing that was driving them to play till the final minute. It was
a standard,
business as usual. And I think that it was set by Nate because it was his body language in particular that stood out to me in that Edmonton game.
And I also do just want to call out here. I'm really curious to see what the Edmonton Oilers do this coming week. That was a bad game for them where they got embarrassed on home ice. And Megan, to me, if I'm Chris Knobloch, the most concerning part was how the team just kind of folded in the third period. And again, like you'd think from a pride standpoint that it would be the Oilers down 9-1 going just, as hard as you can till the end of the end of the game, firing slap shots on net, stirring things up after the whistle. Calvin Pickard started leaving the net before the game was over, before he had to go back, and they fully gave up. And I just thought it was significant how unrelenting the Colorado Avalanche were in that moment.
I think too, like going to that non-discriminatory thing, I didn't love the San Jose game from the Avs on the second game of a back-to-back, but they were unrelenting in how they responded to their start there. And I just think it further reinforces, and it was, Nathan MacKinnon who helped to keep them in it, and force that into OT. I think it just reinforces everything that we're saying about Nate driving this bus, leading by example in that way, and this consistent habit of playing to the final minute, no matter who you're playing.
Yeah. And I actually, the last thing here, Nate's 200-foot game has grown in such leaps and bounds since Jared Bednar got to town. That is something that I don't think that we or anybody talks about enough, but such a responsible player in all three zones. Is he perfect? No. But for what he provides offensively, I don't think you can overlook what he does in his own end as well. Jared Bednar often credits Nathan MacKinnon's commitment to 200 feet as a big reason why they won in 2022. And again, you can just tell that playing all 200 feet is an emphasis of not only what Nate preaches, but in the same light of what we're talking about, something that he passes on to everybody else.
Yeah, because the way the Avs defend relies on everybody being bought in.
Yes.
Nobody's above defense. And so Nate's 2022 defensive details in his own end were some of the best. And when I talked about certain aspects of his game coming alive more so in the playoffs than in the regular season, it's what I'm talking about. And it's not that he's lazy in those details in the regular season. He's just relentless. And there's a better word. It's like fine-tuned, acutely aware of detail in the playoffs in particular. And he's certainly not above it. He will get his hands dirty, put his work boots on. And I appreciate that about him as well. And you're right. I think he doesn't get enough credit for how good defensively he can be.
And he's willing to drop the gloves and engage physically. And you don't always want to see him doing that. But I like the fact that Nathan MacKinnon will, when the time is right, no, I don't need someone else to stand up for me. I will take care of this myself. And I do just think that is a small element that he has in his game that, again, just separates him from the Connor McDavids, the Austin Matthews, the Leon Draisaitl's, the Mikko Rantanens of the league. Nathan MacKinnon will score a goal, put you on your ass, and then drop the gloves if he feels that he needs to. And it's an element he has in his game that you don't see from a lot of players of his caliber.
The dog has a bark, but also a bite.
It's got some bark and some bite. Great way of putting it. So Nathan MacKinnon, first star of the week, but Megan, can't even buy drinks for the other two to celebrate that they were 3 stars of the week. Connor Bedard, looking like the Connor Bedard that maybe people were sold on in his draft year, maybe for the first real time. And then Leo Carlsson of the Anaheim Ducks, who I think has been a really sneaky, very good young player in his first couple seasons. They load managed him a bit as a real young player, so he didn't get maybe all the recognition that he deserved. But Leo Carlsson, 3rd star of the week, 5 goals, 9 points in 4 games. Connor Bedard, 3 goals and 10 points in 4 games himself. But that's not really end of list here in terms of what the young guys are doing in the NHL this season. Macklin Celebrini off to an outstanding start. Playing alongside a guy like Will Smith. You look at the standings. You look at points leaders, goal leaders. Are we seeing a changing of the guard here, Megan? Or is this an early season bump and then the vets will, settle in and take over as the season goes on, and these young guys will kind of fall back. Or, Macklin Celebrini, Logan Cooley, Leo Carlsson. Are we seeing it? Are we seeing the league start to turn over?
Well, it was due, because these teams that have had some tough seasons have drafted well, and it's been a matter of these NHL prospects getting into their games. And like Leo Carlsson, for example, his start in Anaheim was gradual. They really sheltered his minutes, his games played. And at first it was a little bit concerning, but in looking at the player that he's become, he is utilized on Anaheim's PK in addition to that top power play unit, finding some chemistry with another young player that they traded for, and Cutter Gauthier, who is also off to a really impressive start. And so that's kind of where I'm going with it, is there's a youth movement in how a lot of these young players are also finding chemistry with other young players on their team, with exception to Bedard, who I think is, unfortunately, he's not been supported in that way. I think adding Burakovsky to that line for Bedard in Chicago has really helped to open up the offensive side of his game by pairing him with really good talent, skill. We obviously know what Burakovsky is too, but I think that's part of it. And then Bedard sort of taking control of his own game in his own right. Now, the conversation around Nathan MacKinnon reminds me a lot of what I like about Macklin Celebrini. He is also, I've been using the word non-discriminatory a lot today, but he's non-discriminatory in how he leverages his physicality. He is also a competitor who will win his own puck battles using sheer force, in addition to being very offensively gifted. And I appreciate that so much about Celebrini, that I think a lot of his success is in his own right as well, but he has the support of other young players in Will Smith, and there's why am I blanking at Eklund? William Eklund. In that forward core in San Jose that's pretty young. And so, looking at the Anaheim side, there's some young guys in that forward core also to help boost the early success of Leo Carlsson, who I think was just made into a more responsible player in getting into the league kind of in that more gradual place.
I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, a hot take. I don't know if it's any of that. Megan, I really liked what they did with Leo Carlsson in kind of the, hey, this is a younger player who we're going to have make the jump right away. So we're not going to throw everything at him. I mean, we saw it, I think, in a smaller type of sample size last season with Sam Malinsky, but like you and I were even remarking on it last night of like, it's crazy that the AHL plays back-to-backs every weekend.
Yep.
But that's really, with small exceptions, that's really kind of it. The schedule of the NHL is grueling. And I think when you factor in, especially a guy like Leo Carlsson playing in North America, making that jump, having to adjust to the speed, the lifestyle, the living far from home. And then on top of all that, how demanding the schedule is, in the same way that I remember in Austin Matthews' draft year that I thought him going and playing overseas in a pro league was the right move. I actually really liked the way that the Ducks handled Carlsson, and dare I say, maybe you're seeing the results of it here.
Yeah, because even what they did with Beckett Seneca after his draft year, have him go finish one more year in juniors, and now he's getting some looks. I imagine they'll be careful with how they deploy him too on that line with McTavish. He's so fleet of foot, though. He's been a fun player to see getting those reps in, but I think the proof of concept in not being too quick to rush players to be ready for the NHL is in Leo Carlsson now, who is a responsible player you can trust on your PK. Because I think that Leo Carlsson's fit, being, I think, 6'3", 200-pound player, is that could be a power forward in this league that you want taking on top six matchups, but that needs to be done responsibly. And, I look at a player like Val Nichushkin and how the way that Val Nichushkin plays can be really hard on the body. So you just want to make sure that players are really ready for it, and ready to just adjust to the pace, to make the right reads, and not so different from how we're talking about Gavin Brindley and the sort of the unique challenges he has at this level. You just want to make sure the young players are really ready for it. You don't want to throw them straight into the fire. And I think that's helped Leo Carlsson a ton.
Well, and I think that can even be one. It's something that I think fans really clamor for is you get this young, exciting prospect, get him in right away. And two, I get it. I get the temptation. Look, I watched the Avs all through the early 2010s. I understand the temptation to throw high draft picks immediately into the NHL. And I don't necessarily think that it can like inherently ruin a player. Like I think if a player is going to get there and figure it out, they're going to get there and figure it out.
Yeah, like Gabe.
Right.
Nate.
But, I do think that if you handle even a high-end prospect wrong and you give them more than they can handle, that can at bare minimum delay their progression and I think at worst keep them from getting to ultimately where you want to get them to be. And I'm not saying that Leo Carlsson would be a different player had that, dropped him in right away. I'm just saying I appreciate taking a little bit more of a nuanced approach to, hey, this is a young player that we're, instead of sending him back to continue developing or in the AHL, we're going to get him in here, but we're going to do it at the right pace.
Yep.
And we're going to get him in,
manage it.
Right. 50 to 60 games.
Not so different from McTavish starting in more of a depth role, proving that he can handle the responsibility of it and make an impact in limited minutes to then be utilized in a 2C role.
Totally. I want to key in on both Bedard and Celebrini just quickly. We don't have to spend a ton of time here, but I also want to make sure we hear this clip from Brad Marchand talking about Macklin Celebrini. Connor Bedard, you and I have talked about this kid going back to last year. I mean, everyone's talked about him obviously for the last several years now, but like we talked a lot about the type of player that he was looking like last year. And as a result of the type of player he is, plus what's happening around him. And, you and I had said this summer, I think on a show, I'm not 100% sure. Patrick Kane, that is kind of what he is looking like to me, is a guy who will turn into a player that is as impactful as Patrick Kane. And I think if you tell certain Blackhawks fans that, they're like, what? No, that would be so disappointing. And it's like, do you guys forget how good Patrick Kane was for the Blackhawks and how instrumental he was through this point in their career? Connor Bedard, Patrick Kane, Hawks just put a graphic out over the weekend. Near identical point totals, a little bit different how they got there, but identical point totals through this point in their career. Just the more I watch Bedard, I don't know if he's an elite enough skater to ever get to the Nathan MacKinnon, Connor McDavid level at his size, but I absolutely think he could be a Patrick Kane level player where he's, an elite offensive threat. We'll pile up points. We'll have a couple MVP caliber seasons. You made the great call out though. When we were talking about it yesterday, you said, he doesn't have his Jonathan Taves though. One, I guess, what are you thinking when you're watching Connor Bedard this year versus last year? And two, how much does he need another player to play off of, and how much do the Blackhawks need to make that a priority? And I ask that knowing that as great as Nathan MacKinnon is, as much as we just talked about his greatness, he's had Mikko Rantanen, he's had Cale Makar. Neither of those players take away from how great he is, but it helps to have them, and that's true. Sidney Crosby had Malkin. Alex Ovechkin had Nick Backstrom. You kind of go down the list here, and it's always true. Joe Sakic had Peter Forsberg.
David Draisaitl.
Exactly. They've all got it. Does Connor Bedard need that in Chicago to keep from just being a really good player?
Well, yes, because I think that the individual production side by side looks so comparable with Kane, but knowing Kane had Taves in context makes what Bedard is doing impressive, because I just don't think he's had that kind of talent around him yet. There's been talent. It's just not to that same level as what you just laid out. And I made a point to talk about some of the young talent in Anaheim, right? That's also around Leo Carlsson and Gagne and McTavish and Seneca. Same thing with San Jose with Celebrini. You've got Smith and Eklund. It just isn't like that for Bedard. So I think the fact that he's among the points leaders to start this season, kind of in his own right, is special. And so where I want to take this with Bedard is I don't see as much a difference in his on-ice play other than the obvious production that is coming more consistently for a gifted player who has produced like this at other levels. It just, he had the sophomore slump. And what I think it is that is the biggest difference is how he is talking this year in media availability. I don't know if he saw a sports psychologist, but his mindset is a complete difference. He is so much more relaxed and easygoing and just rolling with the punches. He's still bringing that competitive spirit on the ice, and it's translating to results. But I think that he's reframed how he's carrying some of that pressure of being the franchise player for the Chicago Blackhawks into a much more productive way that is translating to on-ice results. And it's a maturity thing. I'm really proud of him. And so that's where I'm like, all right, Connor Bedard, I'm not going to say what your ceiling is. I don't know, but I do think it is a priority to get that kind of talent around him so that we can know for sure. We're never left wondering, well, what if Bedard had his Taves?
Well, and I think that the mentality call out is great because, I mean, again, I think you and I even talked about it on this show last year of like, you could tell that the weight of that franchise was crushing him. And it was also something where, like, I think at one point last year, you and I said something like, shame on that organization for saying, all right, buddy, get out there and go save us.
Yeah.
It's all on
you.
you.
The city needs you, diva.
Yeah. And it's like, can I get some help? Like, nope, it's all you. Go on.
You're so talented.
And that, I mean, that looked like it was weighing on him to the point, and this is such a leap that wasn't ever actually a conversation, but like it was getting to the point where you were starting to sit there and be like, all right, is he just going to do what he has to do to, make it to free agency in a handful of years or, whatever, and get out of there if they're not going to do what needs to be done around him? Because that front office they were stumbling around in the dark for the first 2 years that they had him. You could tell that they did not know what to do with him, how to support him, what to give him, how to help him. And they were just kind of like, Corey Perry? No. Taylor Hall? No. And I'm with you. He doesn't seem like he's feeling that crushing weight of the city of Chicago waiting for him to do something great.
Yeah, it's a lot lighter, and I think that's making the game fun again. And so I'm excited for him. I want them to support him with some talent, like extra talent. That's not to say there isn't talent in Chicago.
No, but there's not. Again, like Frank Nazar is great. He's not Leon Draisaitl. He's not Jonathan Taves. He's not, he's not that guy that rides shotgun. But the only thing, Megan, that and I'm with you. Who am I to put a ceiling on him? I do worry about his size though.
Bedard.
Yeah.
I do too. And that's what the physical impact and power of Celebrini is why I think he's got a really bright future in this league. I'm not even worried about. I don't know for Bedard. It's not to say that the undersized players can't find success. But I do think that will be maybe the thing that holds him back from a track that Celebrini appears to be on.
Well, let's talk about Celebrini, and I'll roll this clip that you found this morning. Brad Marchand talking about him, and then we'll get into it.
So they're a young hotshot player. Celebrini got everything started. Tops in scoring in the league. What did you guys know about him, and how much of an impact did he make?
Yeah, obviously, he's a new hot thing. You hear a lot about him. He's playing incredible hockey right now. He's obviously very skilled, but what I really like about his game is just the intensity. He's a dog, and he hounds the puck. He plays hard. He's not shy. Going to corners or go to the front of the net. He's not one of those guys that waits for the power play. He plays all night long. So he's going to be, one of the best for a very long time, which makes it tough to play against. But he showed why he's an extremely talented player.
Extremely intelligent player, a dog. Macklin Celebrini has played his way into the Team Canada conversation at the Olympics this season. And it's because, Megan, I don't remember. I mean, and honestly, maybe it was Maybe it was Sid. I just don't remember seeing a player. The last time I saw a player that came into the league and immediately just had this much control of the ice around him. Macklin Celebrini, yeah, there's obviously an adjustment, and he had his rookie season, and I'm sure I had to adjust to the speed and the size and the pace and all that stuff. But I mean, he has just looked like he is fit from day one.
Oh, yeah. That's a player who he's taking it. Like, he's taking the game, he's taking control of the game, bending it to his will, and using sheer power and force to do it, in addition to being offensively gifted. Sorry, I thought someone said my name. Yeah, it's pretty special. Still a little distracted.
And it's the poise, it's how much Celebrini, kind of like what you were just talking about with Bedard, of like, just relaxed, just here having fun. I don't need to do anything crazy. I'm just here to play some hockey.
I just need to be myself.
It feels like Celebrini has had that since he showed up, and just never missed. Just has gone to work every single day.
Taking care of business.
Going to business, taking care of work.
It helps to have a friend in Will Smith. A friend going through the same thing at the same time. I think that's why Frank Nazar in Chicago will still be helpful to Bedard. And a talented player too. It's it is a little bit different. I think to have a friend coming up through the league same time as you can relate to, probably does help to reframe that pressure in a healthier way and have some fun playing hockey, which is not the point, but also kind of is.
It is at the core of it all. That is what it is.
I think this is also good for the plot too. Like, the young stars are starring again. They're doing the thing.
Well, so it was, like, you've had the Crosby, Ovechkin, McKinnon, McDavid. Like, you've had these little like rivalries, and it was just kind of looking like, okay, Macklin Celebrini will just kind of be his own dude then, I guess. When we were seeing the way everything was going last year. And I just want to bring up this Rogue Wave Creative, who's always in here, great supporter, said when we were talking about the Blackhawks front office not really knowing what the F they were doing, said, I disagree. They were waiting for the draft picks to come up. That is helping. He is not playing with old men anymore.
Who?
Bedard. Sorry, I went backwards here.
He kind of is still, though. Burakovsky and Bertuzzi.
My thing with the waiting for draft picks to come up, this is part of the reason why I thought, that's not a good strategy when you've got a guy like Bedard. Well, let's just wait to see if these other draft picks pan out. It's like, no. That's like when they had the lottery rigged in their favor. Oh, damn, I was expecting some kind of reaction from you on that line. When they had the lottery rigged in their favor to get Connor Bedard, that was a move where it's like, hey, your rebuild just got accelerated by 2 years. Stop waiting around to see if these kids pan out to be good enough to play on the second line. You need to make some moves here. You need to get him some help. You're a team, like, this player has turned you into a contender quicker than the traditional rebuild would have. You need to do something. And I just thought that their wait and see approach was just not the right thing to do for a young player. I really do, Megan. I thought they were running the risk of Connor Bedard just getting kind of beat down and losing that confidence and losing that pop and that zip in his game. And again, it looks like they've maybe avoided that a bit, but to your point, still playing with kind of some mid older guys.
Well, and so, like, I think Lucas Reichel for them was supposed to be more of a hit than he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that's like them trying to clean slate, open up the room to bring in some talent. But it's tough. I guess when players don't quite hit the way you expect, which happens, maybe to Rogue Wave's point, it was supposed to be part of the plan, but you need a contingency plan that isn't Corey Perry. So that's maybe where my criticism is, that you can't bank on all these high picks hitting immediately in this league. That's the hope, but the NHL isn't about hope.
No. And just because I always want to reiterate it, and I don't know what the current number is because it always shifts every year, but the percentage of even first round players that become 100 game plus NHLers is much lower than people would probably think. Draft in the NHL specifically, draft picks are lottery scratchers. And you hope that you get one that has pretty good odds and you'll win something, but it is almost as rare to get that $20,000 prize on your scratcher that you got from the gas station as it is to hit a Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon level player in the draft. So contingency plans. Great call.
And you got to be ready to act fast, like the Avs did with goaltending when the goaltending didn't hit. I bet they hoped Georgi Ivanunen would work, but it didn't, and they needed to act quickly.
We need to have Tyler Yarmachuk back on the pod to talk about the Oilers because Connor McDavid finally spoke today and essentially came out and said enough is enough. But like, I thought the Hockey Night in Canada panel had some really interesting thoughts on the Oilers, just saying that like they look like a team that's been to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row. Unfortunately, for them, they haven't won any. But like they were saying, like the roster isn't as good this year as it was last year. Some of the guys that overachieved a bit last year aren't off to the same start this season, and that they look tired. And Connor McDavid didn't say we're tired, but like he said this morning, the emotion is lacking. And I just think back to when the Avs won the Stanley Cup in 22, and that being a theme in the early part of the season for them, the first half was like, it's tough to get up for these games when you're playing the Cup Finals. And I'm like I said, I'd love to get some insight on the Oilers right now.
That has to be a factor, right? It's a long season, and if you play through the Stanley Cup final, even if you don't win the Stanley Cup, you still played in those games to the bitter end. So the toll it takes on your body is real, even if you didn't come away with the Stanley Cup.
And
that's
then on
tough.
top of that, you've got the emotional burden that you're wearing from all of that. Like that's
emotionally taxing.
We do have a couple super chats here. Let's get this one tossed up. Boom. Hit the lights. Need to see Nate become better defensively before he ages / loses a step. These young kids should do this early and add extra value to their careers. Just seeing him. Yep, that one right there. Just seeing Nate. I definitely agree with the, losing a step. That will be a part of Nate's game that he'll have to change and transition a bit to being, again, as he gets older. Who am I to say when Nathan MacKinnon's going to lose a step? But as that does, as that happens, as he gets older, you do need to start building in parts of those games. I remember hearing Joe Thornton talk about like, yep, I had to learn how to play from a more stationary mobility type, viewpoint, but you figure it out. I have all the confidence in the world. A guy like Nathan MacKinnon will figure out how to adjust his game.
Yeah, I feel like it's the kind of thing players like looking at Andrew Cogliano, the player he was at the start of his career was different from how he finished it. I think there's a
great example
period in a player's career where they identify this is the time to start building in those parts. And they should never be completely absent. It's the important part there. So like it is important for Nathan MacKinnon to be aware of this on the horizon, but I don't know that it has to as immediately hit because right now he still does have that edge in his skating.
Mm-hmm.
So I think until there's like a timing thing that I think will play into that.
Yep. Let's get this other one here from Vaguely, and it is a 1-year membership anniversary for Vaguely Sober.
Vaguely.
The day after we hit.
Sorry, that's Vaguely Stats.
Ooh!
We got a name change.
Woo! New name, who dis? Hard to believe it's been a year. I've been a member at GS. 9,000 subs hit last night. Avs and Ingles both atop the NHL and AHL. What a time to be a fan of Colorado hockey and possible PWHL expansion looming. What a segue. Two PWHL takeover tour games coming to the Mile High City this year after the attendance record was broken back in January.
I know that's right.
And Megan, what I'm excited about, as much as I would love to just get 2 Nicole Hensley games here.
I know. We get one.
But then we're also going to get to see the new expansion teams as well, the Vancouver Golden. So I saw a tweet that said the PWHL announced one of the coolest logos and names in hockey and one of the weirder names and logos in hockey all in one day. The Vancouver GoldenEye, fantastic. And the Seattle Torrent, which is a fast-moving stream of water, are coming to town in January. Let me just pause there. What do you think of those names?
I don't want to think much about them.
I really like GoldenEye. I think that's a fun one. It's different. I like that.
It's really different.
It's really different.
And the thing is, I was going to love and support them no matter what the name ended up being. So really where I'm at is it's just a matter of time for me. I'm going to spend some time with these names and I'm going to love them. They're just new to me in kind of a weird way, to be honest with you. And I don't know if it's weird because it's new or it's weird because it's weird, but either way, I'm going to love it.
I thought, like, you went with Seattle Kraken, something off the board, but very mean, very like, and then, this gently moving stream of water.
Was Seattle Tsunami not available? Like, could we get a little crazier with it?
I love that.
It just, they might be like, we've never had a tsunami in the history of being a city.
Hey,
state.
I think they got some higher waves that hit in that tsunami that happened in Russia over the summer. I think there were some waves that like came up on the Seattle coast.
And then the torrent rolled in.
But no, I really liked GoldenEye. I did not was not a big fan of Seattle Torrent, but hey,
GoldenEye doesn't bother me. It just makes me think of James Bond.
Yeah, 100%. And that's probably secretly why I like it. But
why would a man be there? Like, it's I'm just kidding.
I actually do think it's a bird.
It is.
It's an
aquatic bird.
Okay.
I love birds.
Hey, who doesn't? And birds aren't even real. Who knew? Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is like the
I wanted
draft
to make sure that you knew immediately I was joking.
And that the draft was rigged. This is the conspiracy theory pod.
The birds thing is a joke. We can get into that. That can be an off-season show. I don't think that they rig every draft lottery, but I definitely think that they make sure certain players end up in certain markets.
I mean, there's money, there's money involved and people do bad things around money.
I mean, you're just going to tell me that
like there's money involved around the marketing that could be born from this happening. I don't want to make it extra sinister, but that's already pretty sinister.
Like you're telling me that Arizona, Columbus, Anaheim, all those teams that were right around McDavid, Matthews, and Bedard. Oh man, the luck just broke the right way that all three of those players went to much bigger hockey markets than those other teams. Oh man, can you believe the crazy luck of the Edmonton Oilers to get Wayne Gretzky and Connor McDavid? Whoa, what a random coincidence. Yeah, I just think that, and you don't do every draft. You got to maintain plausible deniability.
Yeah, some of them are real.
Hey, some of them are real. But when they could have had Connor Bedard go to Anaheim, no, it's better if he's in Chicago.
It's better this way. Don't worry. We'll give you Leo Carlsson.
Leo. Hey, Leo's great. But this guy that could have changed the face of a franchise and been a marketing cash cow, we want him in Chicago. That's all I think.
Just an original 6 team, nothing to see here.
Nothing. Move along. Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews. No, we can't have him go back to Arizona where he's from. Original
People will
6 team.
accuse it of being rigged.
Right. So we'll send him to this original 6 team in the mecca of the hockey universe. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Go about your day. You know what I always think about is that the Avs, with 1 ball to go in the Austin Matthews lottery, the Avs had the highest odds of any team to have the last ball come up. They could have had Nathan MacKinnon, and Austin Matthews. They were one ping pong ball away. Wouldn't that have been fun? Maybe. I think I saw another super chat pop in there. Boom, 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 boom.
But
boom.
would they have gotten Kale? Like, would they have been bad enough?
In the fun scenario, sure. Well, hey, and they lost that draft lottery anyways. Honestly, keep the lights going. I like just kind of like bobbing to them as we were talking. Yeah, keep them going. Keep them going. Keep them going. I know we love the, this is from Ethan Olvera, our guy Ethan. I know we love the LOC, JJ, and Kelly line, but hear me out. OC and Gavin would make life heck for teams. I don't agree. You still probably need Jack Drury there. You need an actual center.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for this center reasons. Like, even the way that Parker Kelly talks about his experience being a center, it's better for him to be on wing. He should be there. He wants to be there. So that being said, if we could have a line made up of 4 players, this would really all be simple.
Done.
Easy.
Yeah, no, that is the hard part. Parker Kelly can play center.
Actually, are there rules against this?
For him on the wing.
I want to know.
Go 4 forwards, 1 defenseman.
Yes.
Could do.
Yes.
Could
I mean,
do.
doesn't it just feel like Cale Makar's an extra forward when he's on the ice anyways?
He does.
So why
He
not?
does feel that way a little bit.
It's a thought experiment. Why not test this a little bit?
There was something that we said just a second ago that made me think of something, and now I can't.
Just roll empty net, vaguely says. Done.
Oh, you could do that. Yeah, you could definitely do that.
You probably still need to go, like, what is it? 13-5? Am I doing the math wrong here? Because you would have an extra forward.
Yeah, 13-5.
Perfect. Done. Who should they take out, Kale? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. That doesn't make any sense, but the rest of this does.
That's the only part that doesn't make sense. Damn, I wish I could remember the last thing I was going to say.
Was it about that 4th line? OC, Brindley?
It might have been. It doesn't matter. I'll just remember as soon as the show ends.
That's perfect. We'll go live again if that happens.
Yeah. Oh well. Meh.
But I mean, I'm not super worried about it yet because we don't have to be worried about it yet, but probably soon because Logan O'Connor is expected to return relatively soon.
Well, so and I saw someone in the chat talking about this. The real part of this conversation for me, Megan, is what do you do with Yoel Kiviranta? And I mean that from like an asset management standpoint. Like, we're getting more and more into that territory at this point of I don't know if he's got much of a spot here, which I just have to reiterate that when you and I were both a little iffy on that signing in the summer, it is immediately played out as to why. I just don't see a home for him, and that's not a knock on Kivy. That's me heaping praise onto Gavin Brindley, who Logan O'Connor is, and hey, maybe he hasn't jumped off the ice in the same way as Brindley, but Zakhar Bardakov has been more than serviceable. And to the point you made last night, PK looks pretty good.
3rd in the league.
Pretty good.
88.5% success rate. No OC or Kivy. And so that's not me saying, and they don't need Logan O'Connor. Look at them. They're rolling. What is it? Like 10-1-5?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to pretend that that is proof that they don't need Kivy back for the penalty kill specifically, because it would be applied then to OC, who I think has tremendous value as well. It's just tricky if a lot of what made Kivy valuable hinged on his PK specialty. That's less of a problem for me now than it was before.
Yeah. There's some people in the chat. Yep. Bringing up the hoodie. I haven't worn it again because the night I wore it for the watch along, he got hurt. And now it seems like he's just lost his job. And so I'm not wearing it for him.
You could bundle
right
the
now.
Kivy gear in the trade. This is
It's a
sad.
really nice hoodie.
This
It's a really
is
nice hoodie.
sad.
Unfortunately, would he become a trade piece? I love Kivy, don't get me wrong, but there is no space. And again, I just want to reiterate, this was the issue you and I had with the deal, not bringing back Yoel Kiviranta, the player. It was that, hey, if everything goes according to plan, at best, he's your 13th. And now you're suddenly sitting here looking, going, is he your 14th? And again, hey, never know, injuries, all that stuff. He could end up very much needing him. I've seen a couple people mention, I don't think Gerard is anywhere near that same conversation. Jack Ashawn's been serviceable. Jack Ashawn is still multiple levels below what Sam Gerard brings night in, night out.
Oh, yeah. They're still in a weird place with D. It's not as rich and flush with options as the forward side that we're talking about. The options for D work together with very specific configurations and then don't. Whereas I think on the forward side, you could plug a couple of these different guys in, and you would have good results. Whereas the D, it's very finely threaded together, in the same way that if we're talking about, because Manson's still playing on his offside, that's one of the threads that's making this delicate back-end construction work right now, and that's a little funky. So all that to say, I don't really know how to weigh in on the Gerard thing. I don't think it's exactly what I said before, though. He is not, you don't want to easily ship him off, but he's not irreplaceable either.
We're over an hour into this, so we're gonna get out of here.
They really love Gagne, you guys.
Up north,
I think the development side, the Avs side, really love Gagne. And I'm not saying it's unfounded. He's green. I'm not saying that he's the next man up in this rotation. Just an interesting name to keep back of mind in all of this. Probably a year out of the conversation, but they really like him.
Well, he's, what did we say all summer? He's different than what they have anywhere else in the organization. I really do want to park some time to talk about, you just mentioned Josh Manson. That pairing with him and Brent Behrens has been really good. Manson playing on his offside. And I'd love for us to find some time this week. Maybe we'll do it Friday, but just talk a little bit about Brent Behrens and what he's brought to this Avs team on the ice, off the ice. I think he's been great, and that pairing with him and Manson has played really well these last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think he's a big reason why this D-core works right now. Taves and McCarr were going to be doing their own thing as the top pair no matter what, but everything happening below that was such a big question mark, and I think Brent Behrens hitting in this way in Colorado has allowed Josh Manson on his offside to work, and Malinsky, whether it's with Solovyov or Sean, is working. I think that all threads back to Brent Behrens in the end. And I would love to talk about that later this week.
Yeah, let's do it. That's going to do it for today, folks. Monday. We got a full week ahead of us. 3 games at home for the Avs this week. I believe, Megan, this is their first proper homestand. Where they're here for an entire week. You got multiple games. Feels like for this whole first month of the season, it's been 1 game gone, 2 games gone. We'll be home for 3 straight games this week. Anaheim Ducks tomorrow. Top 2 teams in the NHL. Who thought we would be saying that on November 10th? The Avs and the Anaheim Ducks. Top 2 teams in the NHL facing off tomorrow here in Denver. She's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. We got Ashley. We got John back there today making everything happen. That's going to do it. We will talk to you guys tomorrow from Ball Arena. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.